I see a word problem in front of me. Let's go ahead and read it just for context. Miss Kim purchased a new aquarium with the dimensions shown to the right. What is the volume of Miss Kim's aquarium? I'm wondering in this problem, what is this about? I'm not thinking about any numbers right now. I'm just thinking what this problem is about. Go ahead and take a second to think. So I know there's this woman, Miss Kim. She's purchasing an aquarium. I know that this diagram is going to be super important because that shows me the dimensions. Now let's read it a second time to see if there's any important information. And before I read that a second time, I'm just going to go ahead and change that to Miss Ayala because I know you guys miss me. Miss Ayala purchased a new aquarium with the dimensions shown to the right. So I know the dimensions, and in a moment we're going to label that on our diagram. What is the volume? So I know that this question has something to do with volume of Miss Ayala's aquarium. And that is the most question part of the question. So basically, I'm trying to figure out the volume of this fish tank. Let's go ahead and look at this fish tank to see if there's any further information it can tell us. I'm noticing that it gives us the dimensions going side to side. And I know if I'm measuring side to side, that's actually the length. So I'm going to go ahead and label that as the length. I'm also noticing that they're giving me the dimensions going up to down. And if I'm going up to down, I know that's my height. So my height is 10 inches. And lastly, they give me that weird front to back measurement. And I know when I'm measuring front to back, that will be my width. So I know that my width is 12 inches. Before we try to figure out the volume of this rectangular fish tank, I want you guys to take some notes. If you did not already, go ahead and pause this video so you can get a notebook and a pencil. All right, now let's start with those notes that you guys should be taking on your paper. The first thing we're going to do is rewrite our height, width, and length. I already know I have a height of 10 inches. I have a width of 12 inches. And I have a length of 15 inches. All that information should be boxed in on your paper so that we can keep referring back to it. Now, I remember in class learning about two different volume formulas. Go ahead and take a moment to think about the two different volume formulas you could possibly use for this problem. Our first volume formula is length times width times height. Go ahead and take a second to make sure you have this on your paper. My second possible volume formula is base area times height. Now take a moment to think. Really think about the information that they give you. Which volume formula makes the most sense to use in this problem? That's right, we should be using this first option. I already know the length, height, and width. I don't know anything about the base area. I could calculate the base area, but since they're already giving me the length, width, and height, then that's the formula that we can use. And let's go ahead and actually solve this problem now. Remember, you always want to start off by writing the volume formula again. I know that volume equals length times width times height. Now that you have your volume formula written down, let's actually substitute those variables and put in some numbers. I don't know what the volume is yet, so I'm going to keep that as V. I know my length is 15. I know my width is 12. And I know that my height is 10. Now that I have all this information, I can use my knowledge of expressions to actually solve. So the first thing I'm going to do is solve my 15 times 12. Make sure that you have some extra workspace on your paper so that you can be solving this. And you also want to make sure that it's nice and spaced out, nice and neat. So 15 times 12. No cheating and using calculators. Make sure you're actually solving this on your paper. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus the 1 we regrouped is 3. I know I need to put that placeholder 0 before I move on. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. When I add up my partial products, I get 180. So I now know that 15 times 2 is 180. I need to bring down the rest of my problem. So now the last thing I have to do is 180 times 10. And we can use our knowledge of placeholders, our knowledge of powers of 10 to actually solve this. I probably don't even need to show this in my workplace. I know that 18 times 1 would give me 18. And I have 2 powers of 10 that I can just add in there. Go ahead and box in your final answer. I'm thinking though, and I'm noticing in my answer choices that they all have units and labels. So I'm actually going to go back to my answer and I'm going to edit this. I know that the volume is 1,800, but I need to figure out 1,800 what? Are we talking about strawberries? Are we talking about oranges? Let's go back to our diagram. I'm noticing that all of the dimensions are actually labeled in inches. So I know that it would be 1,800. And since this is volume, it would be cubic inches. Let's take a look at our answer choices. And I'm noticing that my answer is D, 1,800 cubic inches.